Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Moores. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. It's going
It's
pretty
good.
good.
Well, we have a lot of topics to get into today, as usual. And to start it off, the draft from the top, kind of played out how we thought it would, with Aiden going number one to Phoenix, and there was really little doubt with that. But after that, Bagley went to Sacramento, and Vlade Divac, he said it wasn't even close, So that was kind of a shift, and from what we kind of expected, but they did kind of have their from what he said, they really did have their sights high on him. And then the Doncic and Trae Young trade, where Doncic originally went to Atlanta, then got traded to Dallas for Trae Young. But with the top four, I guess you could say the top five, thinking of like Aiden, Bagley, Trae Young, Doncic, and Mo Bamba. Who do you think kind of has the highest ceiling in that list?
Well, I thought you were going to say
was Jaren Jackson Jr. who?
Yeah, Jaren Jackson
Okay.
Jr. went to the Grizzlies,
right?
The Michigan State freshman. But the guy who I thought you were going to mention was Colin Sexton.
Right. Yeah. I mean, in terms of kind of the most high profile picks, yeah, I guess I should say, who do you feel like has the highest ceiling?
I probably have to give it to Sexton, man. To be honest, even though we had some great guys, like you said, Marvin Bagley the third, DeAndre Ayton. I think the best positions for anybody to go into, I think will be Colin, to be honest. He's going to a situation where there's no clear-cut point guard. George Hill is not a set point guard for them. He's going into a situation where he can learn under Tyronn Lue, and if LeBron James stays, he can get some tutelage from a guy who's been in the league almost 15, 16 years. So I think he has so much room to improve, but he also is going to a situation where he can make an immediate impact for a team that needed a guy who can dish the ball as well as score the basket, off dribble, shooting the three-point, all in finishing at the rim. I think he has the ceiling and the limit is high for him. Expectations. I don't know if he has immediate expectations, but I think he has more of a room to wiggle in and to be an immediate impact, not coming off the bench or getting settled in, because they don't have a clear-cut point guard with the Cavaliers. But
so it's kind of the position. So it's kind of the fact that since there's an unknown at his position, you think that he can kind of go in and fill that for them.
I think so, because with Ayton, I believe he can go in and make an immediate impact. But what we said about him before, he doesn't play great defense,
as Joel Embiid pointed out.
Yeah, so yeah, that was kind of funny. Joel Embiid never holds himself for anybody.
Yeah, he didn't even let him enjoy his draft night. He just said, "I'm just gonna come right at you."
Yeah, don't compare me to him. He's not, in certain aspects of the game, they line up well, but the defense side he does play. Embiid plays way better.
Defense way better.
Than Ayton. But that's the thing that is kind of going to hinder him in his transition into. And I think I forgot who made a point. I think it was Mr. Hurd. It was
Colin.
Colin. I don't like him as a person. I really don't like him anymore. Just how he bashes. Yeah, I just don't like him. But he did make a specific.
How he bashed Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, and Baker, kind of.
Baker stood up to him. He stood right up to him. It was a good.
You're playing one clip out of 45 other clips that show me celebrating. Well, that's a different story, but
yeah,
he did make an interesting point about Ayton. They didn't in the college. They didn't have any big guys in the at the center or power forward position that could match up well against him. And he said He could take plays off, take a couple series off because he was the only guy that was really big enough. He's a prospect. Embiid is a guy who's a star, and Ayton is a prospect going into the NBA. So that's the only thing. That's why I didn't pick him. I think Colin Sexton has the better, situation, to be honest, to transition and make an immediate impact for a team that doesn't have a set point guard or a set lineup that they want.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. But I really think Dallas was the winner of the night. getting Doncic. It's Rick Carlisle. He has a flow offense, and there's multiple ball handlers, and with originally it being possibly Dennis Smith Jr. and Trae Young, I really don't know how that would have worked out because now with Doncic, Dennis Smith Jr., he can break down the defense. Doncic really doesn't have a great blow by ability, but he's 6'8", a point guard originally. The way he can decelerate and accelerate like Manu Ginobili and James Harden is just a benefit in today's league, and his just his basketball IQ is really off the charts. I do know there's the stigma of, oh, he's an international star. We really don't. This guy could be a bust. I don't really see bust potential, but I'm not saying he's going to be like, you know, the next great thing. But I do think he can really be a transcendent player for them as an international star. And the fact that the only probably real knock against him, the big question mark is the athleticism. And that's kind of the big question mark. But other than that, I really do see that he can have the biggest potential in this draft.
So what do you think about Trae Young? A lot of people, they're on the fence about Trae as a defender and a consistent shooter. Yes, he can pick up put up big points, but is he consistent enough and can transition well? What do you think about Trae Young? I'm kind of on the fence well too, though. What kind of player he would fit into the Atlanta Hawks?
It's the size issue. That's the biggest issue. That's the question mark, because when you think about it, you think of a guy like Steph, and when he came into the league, there wasn't that much like buzz about him. You know, a lot of people were kind of like on the fence coming in. He didn't lead college basketball in scoring and assists like Trae Young. So there's almost this sense of expectation from Trae Young, like, okay, I can really go in and win Rookie of the Year just because of all of the expectations around me. But if he can't be a good defender and is exposed with his size, I think that's the biggest question mark. But how he can score and the ability he has from the perimeter and all of those factors are interesting. But I don't know. I do kind of see him as a wild card, just like you said, because I just don't know what we're going to get from him. And we saw what he was able to do in college, but at the same time, he was exposed on defense.
Okay. So I'll ask you one more question. I know you're most of the time you're leading the topics, but I want to change it up a little bit. So who do you think is a sleeper out of the entire draft, or you can just narrow it down to first round, the lottery picks? Who's a sleeper to you?
There's 3 sleepers to me, and I'm gonna try. I think I'm just gonna narrow it down to one. I think Michael Porter Jr.
Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah, him going to Denver as a combo forward, and they have such a deep roster, and the fact that he can be a really good scorer. Like, I mean, he like coming before this past season, and he was the number 1 rated prospect, and we didn't really see him because of the back issues. And since they have such a deep roster, he can come in a lot slower, at a slower pace. He doesn't have to come in at such a fast pace like others who are kind of expected to fill in a certain role. And I mean, I really do think he could be the best kept secret in terms of this draft. Okay.
Because I thought you were gonna say your boy Grayson Allen, who got picked up by the Utah Jazz.
I like that. I really do like that pick.
You like that pick?
That's a really good pick, because I know there's the thing, like you said, Grayson's a streaky shooter. Yeah. But he's going with a coach who knows how to implement guys where they need to be implemented. With Quinn Snyder, arguably, the top 3 in the top 3 list of Coach of the Year, and that's something that really can't be undernoted, because Grayson Allen, he needs to be in a system where he can be a spot up shooter. They got guys like Joe Ingles, and I really feel like he can fit that mold for them. And 2 other guys before I wrap the kind of the sleeper picks. I think Robert Williams to Boston. To me, he could be like the next Clint Capella if he plays at his max. Now, I know there were some scouts who said he has a low motor, and that's obviously not going to work out with Boston, because when you're in a place like that, they're gonna expect a lot out of you in terms of your effort level and defensive intensity. So if he in terms of how he played at Texas A&M, he was a power forward. The lane was clogged. He couldn't really play at an open pace, and so he can do that now with Boston. He has the potential to do that. And Brad Stevens, he's going to play with the open system. And the last one I think is Lonnie Walker to San Antonio, because whatever happens with Kawhi, they're going to be short at wing depth, and he kind of fits that. He kind of fits that mold, and he has freakish athleticism. He can be a wild card at times in terms of is he going to be as efficient from the perimeter as he was in college? Because sometimes it's a different story. Guys can be really good from the perimeter in college, not as good in the pros. So, to me, like those three are probably the top three. And I do like the Grayson pick as well.
Okay. Because I thought, like, as soon as I mentioned that question, I was like, okay, he's going to say Grayson Allen first. But then you kind of surprised me with Porter.
What do you think about Porter?
I think he's a good player. I mean, the back issue is going to be big. And like they said, they're already – my biggest concern for the Nuggets are, can they defend? They already have a good offense, a good backcourt. So can they defend? That's the main point. Now, but they already have – so since they have playmakers that can make baskets, now it kind of is a smoother transition, like you said, to let him ease into it, make sure his back is okay. That's the biggest problem, the injury. So he has to make sure he's 100%. But other than that, he's a great basketball player, I believe. And the hindrance is the back. That's all my only hindrance for him. It's like, can he go in there and play 20, 30 minutes a game and not be, slowed down, wear and tear on his body coming in as a rookie, So them having playmakers is kind of going to slow it down for him a little
bit. Were there any other things that stood out to you in the draft?
I mean, I don't know. It was a bunch of no-name guys to me, to be honest. A bunch of no-name guys that I didn't think were going to get picked in the first. Like the kid from
Michigan State.
No, Jaren Jackson Jr., man. Yeah, Michigan State. Yeah. I didn't think he was going to get picked up by the Grizzlies. I thought Grizzlies was going to go a little small, maybe get a small forward shooting guard type of guy.
Well, he's a 3-and-D guy, and their expectations of making the playoffs this year with Mike Conley coming back healthy and Gasol, I really do think he can fit that mold of being a 3-and-D guy. He can stretch the floor. He can do all those things that he did at Michigan State. And I mean, I think has a 7'4" wingspan. Shot 80% from the free throw line. I mean, the guy I think he's really a really valuable asset.
But he struggled a lot, though. He was always in foul trouble. He plays good defense, but that hinders him from, going to foul trouble. Right. He's not a big upside on the offensive side. I know I want a big guy. If I'm drafting somebody in the first round lottery pick, and I'm going to get him at number 4, I want that guy to be a well-rounded basketball player. I know you
don't think he's well-rounded?
No, I think, one, he makes bad decisions on the defensive side. That yes, he's a presence, but he makes bad decisions. He's always in foul trouble. He's not productive on the offensive side. So now you're getting a defensive-minded guy. I guess it's a light and dark thing. You got Marc Gasol who's both and can shoot the basketball. Now you want another big guy who can match up with him well and play defense. But I don't know. I didn't think he was a pick that I was like, oh, what? Grizzlies.
I like it. I really did like it.
Of course you did. Of course you
did. No, that is a good point that you're saying. Being in foul trouble a lot, making bad decisions on defense, there are going to be guards that are they're gonna bait you into that. They're going to be like, okay, like we know this guy. He's gonna bite on pump fakes. He's gonna do these things and get into a ton of foul trouble. So like you're saying, like with how smart guards are in drawing fouls in today's league, that's a recipe for disaster if that's a continued problem.
Yeah. But I think him being with Marc Gasol, I think they'll have, with Conley coming back, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be interesting. I just didn't think it was a pick they would, go for in the at the fourth pick. I thought they would go with somebody big. Even get if Bagley wasn't off the board, I thought they would go after him. They probably did try to go after him, but he was picked early. But
yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it definitely should be interesting. The Charlotte Hornets, they this past week traded Dwight Howard to the Nets and for Timothy Mozgov and 2 second-round picks, and now they're entering buyout talks for his $23.8 million expiring contract. And he wants to be on a contender. He wants to be on a team that's contending for championships. And he said he kind of was blindsided by the move, didn't expect it. And this is I think the last 3 years he's been with 3 different teams. The Rockets, the Hawks, now the Hornets. And then, now Brooklyn. So it really has been interesting. Just how his career has changed. Now he's just, switch, going from team to team. And the last time he was really just a dominant player was Orlando. And his 2009 was his peak year in terms of the outcome, in terms of getting to the finals, getting past the Cleveland team that was, the first seed in the East, and them getting by them in 6 games. So with what the Nets did, and now the fact that he wants to buy out, what are your thoughts on kind of the trade and how his career has just been really unpredictable?
I think he knows his career is nearing the end. Being with 3 different teams in the past 4 years is not a small thing to just toss aside. He hasn't been the same Dwight Howard, like you said, from 2009, the Superman who's winning dunk contests and just killing in the paint. Was 3 times defensive player of the year. He's not the same guy anymore. But I think this year has solidified him becoming, maybe coming back to that, or just getting close to the glory that he once had with the Magic. And I think his past is kind of hindering him, because a lot of people don't like him as a person. It's just kind of crazy.
They were saying the locker room, issues with the locker room, that he can be a locker room deterrent. That was something that, I think some of the Hornets said about him.
Yeah. With the Lakers, with Houston, with the Hornets, him being late in the Hornets. So it's now he's saying people not getting past my past. But I think this year it kind of helped his resume a little more, because he was more explosive this year. He was
highest point total he's had in the last 4 seasons.
Yeah, I think it was 16.6 points a game, 12.5 rebounds, averaging almost 2 blocks a game in 81 games, and he was healthy. This is the first season he was completely healthy. Now you built that resume. Your tape is good enough. Now I think it's rumors he might sign with the Warriors. He's still
really?
Yeah. It's rumors that he might sign with the Warriors. That's a possibility. That's why he wanted to buy. I think he understands, I've been here in the game. I want to win a championship. If he goes to the Warriors, I don't think that's a bad idea for the Warriors. He's still one of the top 5 big men on the market right now, because his contract will be ending next year. So he's still one of the top 5 best big men available. So I think now that you had a great season, finally had a great season with the Charlotte Hornets, it kind of helps your case, and okay, I still have some room to grow, but I still have some years to play.
Yeah.
But at first, I didn't think he was going to gel well with the Brooklyn Nets, and I'm pretty sure he thought that too. He wants to buy out of his contract. I don't think he fits with the Brooklyn Nets at all in their scheme. But I think he'll fit well with the Warriors. Anybody can fit well with the Warriors.
Yeah, Nick Young can fit well with the Warriors.
Yeah,
with the Warriors. I mean, exactly. But in terms of, to me, the one interesting kind of failure that just was kind of almost just kind of it exposed some things, in terms of how he can work well with great players, was his time with the Lakers. And now Kobe, he didn't feel like Dwight had a killer instinct. He didn't feel like he had a great motor. When that happened, and that really didn't work out that year. It was almost like the glory days were thought to be back with Steve Nash, Kobe, Dwight Howard. Like there was a lot of hype around that, and it didn't, pan out. What did you think about when that didn't work out, and how Kobe just really was dismissive of him?
I think at one point it would look good on paper. If you look at it, Steve Nash was at the tail end of his career. He was injured. In the tail end of his career, he had so many plaguing injuries, so he didn't really get to play much when he was with the Lakers. And you get the Dwight Howard that's still pretty much in his prime, and you have a guy who's still young-minded. You have a guy who's been in the league for a long time. I think it's a point to where, okay, both of the players are pretty good, but if you can't play together, agree together, it's not going to be, a good mixture. You look at Kobe and Shaq. Kobe and Shaq had their fused while playing together. So I think it was a personality type thing with Kobe, because just because you think he doesn't have the killer instinct, he should have beat y'all in the 2009 finals. It was a couple plays where they left.
Yeah, the Courtney Lee tip in that game too could have changed some things.
So he does. I think he has a killer instinct. As a player, I don't think personally he didn't like him, and that's what's happened. And a lot of people can't play with Kobe. A lot of people can't play with Russell Westbrook. A lot of people couldn't play with Michael Jordan. Some people didn't like Michael Jordan as a person, but as a player, they thought he was great. So I think it's a preference, and I think Dwight Howard understood that. It was like, oh man, I looked up to this guy, man. I grew up watching him, but playing with him, like getting the scoop of how obnoxious and airheaded he was as a player, that I want to deal with that. Then I'm going to be like, bro, I don't care. I don't care what you say. I don't care what that creates confusion. But when they went to them, like with Steve Nash and Dwight Howard, all the guys went out, I was like, this is not going to work, because Steve Nash, like I said, was battling plaguing injuries.
It wasn't Steve Nash in his prime. Steve Nash in his prime was incredible. Back-to-back MVP.
And sometimes he should never won back-to-back.
Right. I know the Shaq, probably the second year Shaq should have won, but yeah.
Yeah, we see that now with Steph Curry winning unanimous MVPs for no reason at all. But that's neither here or there. People get robbed every single day with an MVP.
And Westbrook. I mean, when he won the triple double, you could have made a case that James Harden should have won. Like you really could have. Like we could be talking about James Harden going for back-to-back MVPs, but sometimes the statistical dominance that a player has in a certain season can kind of override that.
Yeah, true. And LeBron should have won it this year too, so I don't care. Have to throw that in there.
Yeah. With the Nets kind of potentially saving, they could have saved nearly $17 million in this trade and let and open up 2 max salary slots in the 2019 free agency. What do you think about their future in terms of, Spencer Dinwiddie? He had a pretty good year. D'Angelo Russell playing for them this year, having some high points. Like what do you see for them in their future? Do you kind of see it still being them being kind of in the low tier of the league?
Yes, because it's interesting. They're rebuilding. I think they're before trusting the process. And it's going to take more every single year to rebuild in the draft, and they're going to have to get some money, enough money to go get a guy. They had Paul Pierce, they had Kevin Garnett, they had all these older guys who were way out of their prime, but still be able to play to a certain extent. So now you're really starting over, to be honest, man. You have to find a process like the 76ers, to be honest, because look at the 76ers where they were after Iverson. They were lost for many, many years, and they took them some years to switch GMs, get some money, find players that they can mold and find the potential that they wanted in players to build them up. Now look at it. It's going to take some years. They're not going to have immediate success with the guys they drafted this year. So looking at the whole process, it's going to take a minute. They're still going to be a low ball team. They're still going to be low.
So you think they're in the? So you think they're in? You don't see there being any way this could be their version of the process?
No, because you get rid of Mozgov
because they're not losing on purpose. Having how the Sixers I know many people have an issue with how they went about it, but it still was genius in what they ended up getting.
Yeah. I just don't see them. I don't see the Nets. Because you get rid of Mozgov, who's a pretty good center, came from Cavaliers and went over there and kind of solidified himself, and now he's going to the Nets. You have Jeremy Lin, D'Angelo Russell might become, something bigger than what we thought he was going to be. But other than that, man, you have Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's okay. I think Dinwiddie's a sleeper.
I really do too. Yeah.
Dinwiddie is a sleeper. He's a sleeper type guy. He's a streaky guy. And it's just, they're not enough. It's still going to be a rebuilding stage. Like, okay, you don't have two guys. Well, Jahlil Okafor.
Jahlil Okafor, to me, it just hasn't worked. Yeah, and I don't think it will work, because we saw, like, in terms of what he was in Duke, he can only play a certain way, and if you can't adapt in the league and you can't kind of expand your game, and you only know how to play in the post, and that's kind of it, then you're not going to have success in the league. Like, you're going to be a washed up version of what you were in college.
Not this league, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll definitely be interesting to see how that plays out. The Kawhi situation with the Spurs still kind of, in the works. No team really has had interesting enough offer to kind of get their attention, but a team that could potentially have a lot of assets, pretty much have the best, chest of assets than, treasure chest of assets that any team does is the Celtics. And they're in a position where, look, if they wanted to go after Kawhi, they'd probably have to give up one of their top three guys, either Kyrie, Horford, or Hayward, and maybe even Jaylen Brown. Even to me, Jason Tatum is a guy you cannot trade. He's untouchable right now. And they have the Sacramento pick, and I think the Memphis and LA pick. And it would kind of be, to me, replacing, kind of giving up your future for the now. Being like, look, we're all in on the now, and trying to really compete for a championship, which I think they already, can do and are at that point right now. But do you think it would be wise to go after him, or just stay as they presently are?
Do not go after him. Don't.
Yeah.
Because one, he doesn't want to play for you.
He's not going to want to stay long term. It will probably be like a 1-year rental.
Exactly. And then you have to worry about another guy whose contract is about to end, named Kyrie Irving. I don't think Kyrie will fit with the Spurs. I don't think Spurs will go after Kyrie to get him in a trade, because, like I said, Spurs play team basketball. I'm not saying Kyrie can't do that, but Kyrie's a guy he's an isolation type of guy. He wants the ball in his hands. That's the type of player he is. He gets better every quarter if he has the ball in his hands. So you take him to the Spurs, he will not be able to do that, because Popovich will put a cap on him in a hurry.
Yeah.
So
that's not the version of Kyrie you want. You don't want a capped version of Kyrie.
I think they should worry about what Kyrie's going to do. Keep Rozier, keep Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, keep those guys together, have Hayward there. Make sure he's solidified for the next 2 years. Just worry about the pieces that you have on the table already. Don't try to go get anything else. The one thing you should be worried about, how we wanted to share minutes with Hayward coming back. Marcus Smart, you got to pay guys. Marcus Smart's coming up with a contract. You have to give Jason Tatum a big-time contract. Jaylen Brown, Rozier's going to want something. So right now, you don't need to get a guy who's still coming off an injury. We don't know if he's 100%. We don't know if he want to stay. You don't want to rent a guy out. You're already renting Kyrie out. So you don't want to put that more pressure on your organization or your fans, where you just came off a great season that you should be in the finals. So you don't do that. You don't go after a big wounded fish where you already got, stuff in the pond. You don't need that. You don't need somebody splashing everywhere. You already got it. That was a bad analogy. It's terrible.
It was okay. It kind of worked. It kind of worked.
It was okay.
Look, you're not as good as your best analogy. You're not as bad as your worst analogy. That's my thing. I've used some analogies that aren't that good. It happens. But
I don't think feel better, Wellington.
I don't think Marcus Smart is coming back, and the reason I say that is because look, he does not want the hometown discount. How can you pay all of these guys? And that's kind of the biggest. I think one of these guys is not going to come back next season, and it would be to me. I think it would be a significant loss just because of the defensive prowess that he brings. But do you think he would like how tough a position is that going to be with Smart and him just being adamant about not wanting a discount?
It's gonna be definitely hard. I mean, but these are the type of guys that have to look at the bigger picture.
Right.
Now, okay, let's see. If Marcus Smart goes out into the market, free agency, he could get picked up, but I don't think anybody will waste a big time deal on him because he's not a efficient player on the offensive side. He doesn't have a jump shot, but he's a great defensive player, great six man who will give you 20, 25 minutes a game and give you all that he has. I love his effort, but he's not going to get a big time contract on effort. They want you to be efficient enough on both sides of the basketball to get one of those big time deals. So you take that discount. You have 45 years left to play. You take that discount, you get a couple rings because this team that's going to come up. If everybody does with the Warriors,
they'll be in the finals next year. They'll be in the finals for like the next 3 years.
If everybody does what the Warriors do, take pay cuts to keep everybody there because we know what we have, then they'll be successful. They'll go to the finals. They're definitely going to the finals next year.
Yeah, if you have tickets to the finals, just know like you're going to be going to Boston. Like that's that to me it definitely seems like they are the team that would in the East that will go.
I just don't see anybody else giving him a big time contract.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like I do feel as though they have the element of being unselfish, like all those guys, and I'd really that would be great if he could stay and like even though he wants a lucrative contract like that on the market, there probably won't be a lot of teams that will be willing to give that to him. With Jaylen Brown and him being a multi-positional wing defender, just like Leonard was, after his second year. Do you think if they consider that they would be risking giving up on a younger Kawhi and not really fully seeing out his potential?
You said if they do get
no, I mean if they were considering Kawhi, do you think they would be putting at risk the fact that look, we have a guy who could be Kawhi like at a 9, like almost a similar version to Kawhi? Like, do you think they would kind of be risking the potential that he could have for even when the big three kind of teeters out, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can carry this thing out?
Yeah, I think so because the Spurs are not going to want anybody mediocre for Kawhi. If this deal happens, they're going to want probably either Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, but Jason Tatum is off the board, like you said.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Rozier, and possibly Hayward. I think they like Hayward. They're not going to get rid of Hayward. But if push comes to shove, it's going to be Hayward or Jaylen Brown. I think they don't need a point guard. I think Mills is a decent point guard. Then they need another
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, small forward type of guy. Because, Danny Green's a good guy, but to replace Kawhi, they're going to need a guy like Jaylen Brown or a Marcus Smart or a Hayward to be able to shoot and defend a little bit. So they will be giving up a lot of potential, a lot of long-lasting years because they only can go up, I assume. They can't, retract from what they've done already. Young team going to the final, almost going to the finals, almost beating the Cavaliers team led by LeBron James. So you look at that. If they even go after Kawhi, I don't think it would be a great idea. You're giving up potentially the next 5 to 7 years of greatness for your organization that has been missed out on. So yeah.
And to be honest, the next 2 years, if they really want to wait for a guy, it should be Anthony Davis. Like I really think that like that's the guy you should wait out for if you really want to do this. Because they've always had their eyes like set on him to potentially acquire him. And the potential of risk, all those things. But in the next few years, I do think like that's the guy they could go after if they really wanted to make another big splash in free agency. And if they got Kawhi, they would have a fourth max salary that would create a difficult luxury tax bill in 2019. So there are some, significant cons with this. We already talked about the Chris Paul wanting to recruit LeBron to the Rockets and that being a significant part in his desire of this offseason. But with Colin Sexton, he was talking about, look, LeBron, I know you want to build a team, let's continue this and all that. And also how there have been reports that it's narrowed down to Cleveland and LA. Like those are the two teams now. And I know we also thought about Philadelphia and that potential, but with it getting kind of closer, I really feel like LeBron may kind of draw this decision out and not really go in it, make the decision quickly. But how are you feeling in terms of what they did in the draft and the potential of who you still see as the front runner to acquire him?
Right now, I still think it's the Lakers. I think adding Sexton or even adding Trae Young would still haven't been enough for him to say, okay, I'll stay 100%. It's more guy. It needs more. Still needs more. You still have guys who are inefficient, like J.R. Smith, Danny. Hood. It's like these guys.
Yeah, Rodney
not
Hood.
enough for him to solidify. Now Sexton was a good ad. It was a pretty good ad, but it's still not enough. I think the Lakers have enough for him to say, first of all, the city, his family, his sons, going into be able to go into the recruiting process well, and they have good high schools in California. Then the business side, like we was talking about, him being under Magic Johnson and being tutelage of the business side of outside of basketball, and three, they have a good enough basketball team and a supporting cast to entice LeBron enough to come. Now, I still think it was the decision him going anywhere will be with Paul George or Kawhi. So if he does go to the Lakers, he still has to wait because I don't think they'll trade Kawhi this year. I don't think they will trade him because they're not getting enough for him. But
so you think Kawhi is going to stay?
They're going to try to trade him, but they don't have to trade him.
And that's the thing. I don't really think they want him to go. I don't really think they want to trade him to the Lakers because they would inadvertently kind of be building a super team.
Yes, exactly.
San Antonio would feel like, hey, are we really going to just have them possibly build a super team and we have to face that?
Exactly. So I think they'll wait it out and then they'll make him choose. They'll make him play this last year. And then I was like, okay, when you see what the market is, we see what's going on, then we'll let you go. Or just it just depends because they don't have to trade Kawhi. They don't. It's not in the Bible. I was like, hey, I want to trade. We don't have to trade you. We don't. So we're going to keep you here. We're going to make you play. We're going to make you play because you're going to sit out the whole year. You did it kind of. That's funny. As soon as I thought about it, I was like, he kind of did. So.
Kind of did that. I only played 9 games.
Yeah, so he kind of did. So now it's like they're not going to trade. It's just up to what Kawhi does. So now if, LeBron leaves right now, go to the Lakers, then he has to still wait a year, years some change for Kawhi to get to the Lakers if he even does come to the Lakers. And then you look at, so now we get LeBron. Who's going to leave to go to the Cavaliers?
Right.
Who's going to get rid of to make room for LeBron? So it's a lot of moving factors. I know I always say this. It is a lot of moving factors.
So you do think that Paul George will go to LA?
I don't think he'll leave.
So you think he'll stay with OKC?
I think he'll stay with OKC. Just looking at it because it's not even chatter or noise right now from him. I think after 1 year you can't make a clear decision on your future with a team after 1 year. I think he gives it another year and then he makes the decision if I want to stay longer or if I want to move. So
pretty much LeBron, it could be potentially going to LA just by himself.
By himself for right now.
Do you think he'd be content with that? Or because I do feel like he could be like, look, okay, Paul George, Kawhi didn't come. This is just a hypothetical, not like this actually can happen.
Right.
Let's just say Kawhi stays, Paul George resigns, and he's just got to wait a year out and see the potential of this team for a year. Like, do you think he'd be content doing that in the second year, kind of being the year they go all in and bring the other two guys?
Well, I think they do have enough. You look at the lineup. So Brook Lopez will stay.
Mm.
I would assume if LeBron just comes by himself, Brook Lopez will stay. You still have Lonzo Ball. We hope that he breaks out of his normal point guard shell. You still have Kyle Kuzma, who had a immediate upside. He was a sleeper, but he showed his significant value. You still have Julius Randle, who still hasn't tapped into all of his potential. I want him to tap into his potential. So you have Brook Lopez, Julius Randle, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, and maybe Isaiah Thomas with LeBron James. I think that's better than what he has right now with Colin Sexton. So I think that's more enticing with the city, with the business, and with him, basketball. I think that's more enticing than staying with Cavaliers.
I mean, right, and that's really interesting because that is such a different scenario than probably what was estimated as, because there was the thing of if LeBron goes to LA, he's going to be bringing a star. But if he just waited this year out, like you said, the lineup that they currently have, it's better than what Cleveland has right now. There's nothing really that luring about staying in Cleveland with what he currently has. So do you think? And there were the reports about Cleveland saying that they wanted Kevin Love whether LeBron stayed or went. Do you think they're also kind of hindering themselves from attaining LeBron with just kind of keeping Love and not trying to see if they can get something even better in return for him?
Well, I thought they were shopping him around to the Spurs. I think they said, okay, we'll give you Kevin Love and a potential other pick to get Kawhi Leonard. So I think they are shopping him around just for the right deal. But they're not shopping him around for some mediocre type deal. But it has to be the right one. And I think Kawhi Leonard deal will be the right one. So let's put this scenario out. If LeBron stays, Colin Sexton, then they get Kawhi Leonard in a trade for Kevin Love.
Oh, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good. With, J.R. Smith. I don't know what they're going to do with J.R. I don't know what they're going to do with J.R. So you still have Green coming off the bench. You still have Hood. You still have George Hill.
If that scenario is in play, LeBron's going to be staying in Cleveland for a while then.
Yeah.
If he's with Kawhi. So. Yeah.
Because now you have three guys. You have two guys who can move without the ball and score without the ball. Kawhi loves pick and rolls, coming off screens. So that's another guy who can do that and play defense. That would be the best scenario. But like I said, they have to give the Spurs something to be like, okay, go ahead, Kawhi. You go ahead. We don't know if you're 100% anyways. Go. So it has to be the right deal. I think if Kevin Love goes to the Spurs, I think that'll be a good deal for them. Because I think Popovich loves big guys who can shoot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think the Spurs would mind that. I think the Spurs would actually like that. Yeah. Like that would be one they wouldn't really mind. And that I have heard that the rumors of the Cavs are trying to, go after Kawhi and that being a way, because that would definitely get LeBron's attention. That would definitely be a good indicator of, okay, that now have something actually I can really work with. And those are the two best two-way players in the league. The last team I kind of wanted to talk about in terms of with LeBron and free agency and even Kawhi is Philadelphia. Brett Brown talked about they need another superstar to compete for a championship. Like, who do you see them? Let's just say they don't get another superstar. How much would that hurt them? And who if they are going after a superstar, which which we all think they are, like who do you think would most benefit them now?
Well, the next 2 or 3 years, if they don't get LeBron or Kawhi, I don't think Kawhi wants to go to Philadelphia anyways. That's not even on his list. Well, a guy who can help them if he wants to leave, I think will be Klay Thompson.
Hmm.
I think Clay is a more consistent shooter than a lot of people give him credit for. And I think that's the one thing they're missing on their team. They got a big guy who can make shots and play defense. But Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz,
Right.
until they reach their potential and reach the ability to play on offense consistently, they're missing that type. So I think Klay Thompson would be a nice addition to the shooting offense. And Klay plays pretty decent defense. So he'll
Yeah,
add
he's
that.
one of the best two-way players in the league
Yeah.
to me.
So he's a good shooter. I like him over Steph as a shooting guy. A lot of people won't say that, but I like Klay. Klay can start on any team. He could be a star on any team. So I think that will be because a lot of people now are coming in the free agency. I think he's a free agent after this season, so he'll be available. If you give him enough money or entice him to leave a team that he's won like 3 championships with, that's going to be hard to do. It's going to be definitely hard to do. But if he wants to be a guy, the guy, then I think 76ers would be a nice addition for him.
That would definitely be interesting. Interesting move because it would give them a need in terms of the shooting. Our last topic for today is the crunch time rule and the possibility of that changing. There was the basketball tournament, this official tournament last year. It was pretty much a 2 million winner take all format challenge. And their approach to crunch time, it was really different. They at the 4-minute mark, they turned off the game clock, playing until one of the teams reaches a certain score. And now they're going to use this format for all of the 71 games that they have for the tournament. And it eliminates hacking and intentional fouls and all of those things that kind of slow down a game. And Mark Cuban and Daryl Morey, they kind of wanted to see this be implemented in the league. And Daryl Morey said this idea would address the number one viewer issue I see in NBA games: the endless trips to the free throw line. And he pretty much was talking about just how that has kind of been an issue for the viewership of how games end are ending in terms of how things unfold in a close game, kind of the last 3 to 4 minutes. So even though this is a long shot and the league has kind of reduced timeouts, consecutive timeouts, and having a 15-minute halftime and trying to speed up the game a little. What do you think about this kind of radical approach and if it was ever implemented in the league?
I don't think it will work in the NBA, to be
Yeah.
honest. It's like a pickup game type thing. Or we're going to play 21 or whatever. We're going to. I don't think it'll be good for basketball. I don't think fans will like it, to be honest, because those last 4 minutes in games are crunch time, no pun intended, and
Right.
It gives the team. Okay, so a team's down 15 points. It allows people to have runs. It allows teams to make big shots. I think you're taking away the main aspect of basketball is run transitions. Transition basketball wins games. If you take that away, and it's going to, I don't know. I just don't like the idea of it being implemented in NBA.
It's like in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals when it was 89-89 with like Cleveland and Golden State for like 4 minutes. It's like, all right, guys, play to 93. Whoever gets it, game over. It would just be so different.
It takes the suspense out of it. It takes the uncontrolled substance that basketball has. Any team can win. I mean, still any team can win if you go, okay, this team has 89, the other team has 80. We're playing to 105. It still gives the opportunity, but I don't think it's at a fair standpoint. But if you have a team that's 89 and another team is 80, and you still have 3 minutes to go, anything can happen. That's the ideal aspect of basketball. You don't want to take that away. That's the innocence of basketball. The only things left, you have flopping, you have no calls, but the clock's still running. Not turning the running clock off is the only thing that's still
You'd kind of expect Daryl Morey and Mark Cuban to be for this because Daryl Morey he really pushed for the analytics to be exposed more in the league and things like that. Do you think a lot of other NBA GMs and executives would be for this, or do you think they'd be like, no, we kind of just want to stick to the regular approach that we have?
I don't think so, because if they did agree with Mark Cuban, Then what came out, I was like, yeah, let's put out a statement. I think we should do it. Like, and you're gonna have an owners meeting, you're gonna discuss it. But I just don't think other owners are like, okay, we all need to. We're already worried about building a big three super team. Adding that aspect to the game is, oh gosh. But I do say this to give it an opportunity. Do this in the preseason. If you're going to implement
Right.
it
Yeah.
and see if it's going to work, do it in the preseason like NFL did with moving back the extra point to the 40-yard 30. Well, kicking, I think it's 35, 40 yards extra. Yeah, field goal. So if you want to do that, do it in the preseason for 1 year and just wait 3 or 5 years to decide on it if you're going to do that, or continue to have it like a test dummy with the basketball tournament TBT. But right now, I don't think basketball needs another big change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the fans will rock with it.
And 4 minutes were shaved off from the average game this year with the timeout reduction. Last question. Do you think especially Adam Silver, he's done a lot to kind of, reinvent certain things about the game. Do you think the league is making a concerted effort to change things and, make the viewership experience, more entertaining?
I think so. And it started with the NBA All-Stars this year, allowing the guys who had the most votes be team captains and pick their team. I thought that was a great aspect. The NFL did it with a couple, Hall of Fame guys as coaches, and they drafted guys who they want. I thought it was a good decision for the NBA. But yeah, I believe the NBA are taking the necessary steps to ensure that their viewers don't decrease every single year like they do presently. But yeah. I think they started with the NBA All-Star, which is a great idea, man. I thought it was fun.
And it was a really good. It was. I mean, the ending was crazy. with KD and LeBron trapping Steph.
Exactly. Look at that. If they would turn the clock off, we probably never got that. We never had an urgency. It takes the urgency out, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And it really was one of those things where like the All-Star game used to be a joke. People felt like, okay, they don't take it seriously, but they did. And there was just having Kyrie, LeBron play together, KD and Russ play together, like all those elements were just, scintillating.
That was crazy, man. And then I think they threw an alley to each other or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Oh man. And then but I don't think Russ still likes KD.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I don't know. Because there was one.
I should say not as much, obviously.
Yeah, not as much because you left. I mean, you kind of went to the other side. But that's interesting.
Definitely. Well, that wraps it up for today. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. We'll be back next week, maybe with a guest. Maybe. I've heard rumors. I've heard rumors about this, but
rumors. But
we always have.
But
this is the thing. Last thing I'm gonna say, there's been a streak of every time we have a guest, I'm the only one who does it. But I was like, no, I could do it, but I gotta keep like we have to end that streak. We gotta keep everybody together.
Right, and I think the guests we have
inclusion.
I think we'll have a good show.
Yeah.
Gave it up.
You already gave it up. That's a female.
Man. She knows sports. She's been around sports forever, so. It's going to be a good debate, good talking about some topics because Wellington comes up with the greatest topics ever, consistently.
So sometimes I wonder if you're being facetious about that or actually being honest.
No, I'm really being honest because I've done this and have to come up with ideas. I'm like, we talk about the same things, but you switch it up, you add different aspects and stuff like that too. So, praise where it's due, man. You're doing a great job.
Thanks, man. Well, this has been another great episode. Full Scope. See you next week.